Welcome to episode 9 of The Gun Show by Mama Bear Defense. I'm Crystal Reese, and I'm here with
Shauna Martinez.
And we are here we're recording this bright and early. So bear with us. That's mom life. Mama Bear's a real name, and we just have to record when we can. We do not have a guest this week, but this is still going to be a fabulous episode. We decided to alternate weeks with guests for editing purposes. Lots of news this week, just like last week. It seems like everything is just pouring in. Okay, next one is, I thought this, since we're talking about youth, this was a fascinating study just released in this published, oh man, I'm like, what is this? JAMA Pediatrics in a magazine. Just released August 31st, and it studied youth suicide. And
Okay.
And understanding if you if you increase the age of purchasing a gun. So most states, you can purchase a gun when you are 18.
Mm-hmm.
5 states changed the law where you have to be 21 to purchase a gun. And it's been, I believe, 15 years since they changed this law. So we have a long time of study, a long area of study of these 5 states. It was Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, and Wyoming. And since 1994, these states changed their laws, and they studied, okay, are youth committing suicide less in these states where they can't buy a gun, right? From 18 to 20-year-olds, are they committing suicide a lot less because they can't purchase it? Well, guess what? 0 difference. It was not statistically significant. So the change of the age of law had 0 impact on the suicide deaths by gun from 18 to 20-year-olds.
Okay. I get it. Yes. And it, as it should have been, because if you're going to, hopefully never in the matter that anybody does it, but if you're going to, the saying is if you're going to kill yourself, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to find a way to kill yourself.
And most of them
because
get
you're
guns
not
illegally.
Healthy in the mind. Yes, you can pick up guns illegally. You can jump off bridges. You can jump out in front of trucks. You can take pills. There's all these things that can happen as labeled as suicides. And it's horrible because those people are the ones that are lost in their minds that need help, and it's so hard for them to be able to step out of their segments of their thoughts to understand that, yes, there are still people around them that do care about them, but there's never going to know the facts of why these children do this. There's no age for suicide. There's no age, there's no explanation to state that guns are the purpose of suicide.
Yeah,
that's
restricting access to guns, not being able to purchase a gun is not going to be the catalyst, or that's a useless law. Now they can lower the age back to 18. The whole reason they did that law was so that they couldn't purchase or whatever. There you go. I mean, I guess another thing would be studying crime. Is crime better since they increase the age? That's the only other thing I could think of. If it's not, then lower the age again. Lower the age again, because it was not a useful gun.
I mean, if you want to get to a gun, join the service. Then you can get to a gun. You're 18, you can sign in to be in the military. So
or leave one of those 5 states and get a gun.
Yeah, that too.
Go to a freedom state. It surprised me who wasn't on that list.
California.
Yeah.
Hawaii. Those are the
Yeah.
2 states I'm actually surprised they're not on there.
I'm like, oh, okay. So there's that. That's the other news. Then
It's
we
interesting.
have, I know there's some interesting ones and that's going on. This is another hot topic
Mm.
because it kind of goes into the red flag laws or someone watching you. So there was a felon and he went on social media and he went live. He was live streaming and he said, I'm going to go bust a cap in a cop's A, I'm going to go murder some cops, blah, 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 and shows a gun on his live stream. Well, someone reported him. Cops went over to his house, arrested him because he's a felon with a gun, which, contrary to what people think, you cannot do that. That is illegal. And so, yeah, he got arrested for having a gun.
Good.
But my thought was, they found him through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't know. Like, the internet is not a protected
It's
place.
not private like your house. It's not
No.
private. So when you open up the internet and you log in any place you put your picture, any place you put your name, you are now opened yourself to anything and everything out there.
Yeah.
And to understand, okay, so one, he's a felon. Okay, so he's not removed from Facebook or anything like that. He can move forward that. He can move forward with it. But he had a gun. He was on
Illegally.
live illegally. He went on social media
And then
and is
threaten the
basically like jumping
police.
on the news, threatening an officer. So was his probation officer on there? Was there somebody of the department on
Who
there
saw
video,
it.
watching him? Because that could be a possibility of stipulation of, parole. The other option is that a family member has been fighting for him to get his life together and saw this happening, or maybe a victim of one of his crimes to a friend, maybe that's kind of like, I'm going to watch from a distance, and if something happens, I'm going to take it and send it in. There's so many things that you need to be conscious of. Like, you need to be aware. It's not that you be aware walking around to your car or anything. You need to be aware as well on social media. It's not a joke. You don't go out there and post, oh, I have this at my house, or I have this, because guess what? You've just basically opened the door to whomever that might be watching, because if you don't have your privacy settings correct, or that someone took your information and reshared it, like,
Yeah.
hey, check out my cousin, they went and did this. Oh, really? I'm a criminal on your page that you didn't know I was there, and I'm going to go search this person out,
Mhm.
and you can wiggle through different areas.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean, obviously in the end it was good, but then it like had one of those like Big Brother feel. And I mean, we know that what you say on your phone, even when it's turned off, if I say,
mhm,
I really need dog food. I want dog food so bad. Oh my goodness, I need dog food. If I saw dog food, I would buy it immediately. If you say stuff like that and then open up your phone and into the suggested ads, there will be dog
mhm,
food. And my phone is turned off and I don't own a dog. I have
yeah.
done this with my husband and that has happened. Like we would talk
Did your
about something.
husband believe? Does he believe in that?
Oh, yeah, we totally do because we've done the test. We literally talked about dog food for 10 minutes. We don't own a dog. Talked about it for 10
That's
minutes. Our
funny.
phones were off.
Wow.
Turned our phones on, went to a news station because they do suggested ads, flipped through, and we saw dog food.
Wow. Now, I know my husband had his phone somewhere within the garage, and he was cleaning out, and he pulled out his old dirt bike boots, and he was talking about, hey, I'm gonna have to buy some new boots soon, and he said dirt bike boots, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, let's find some for you when they go on sale. And sure enough, he got on his phone later that evening, and there it is, dirt bike shoes coming on through. There it
Yeah.
is.
But I mean, I'm glad that the felon that they caught
Agree.
him. He's in this case, it's good. However, it does give me uncomfortable feelings. The next story You remember how we talked about the law that Joe Biden wants to remove, and it's the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act? So
Yes.
basically, it prevents you from being able to sue a gun company if you use the gun against someone. Or so someone takes a Smith and Wesson and they're a bad guy and they shoot someone else. The person's family, the victim's family, cannot sue Smith and Wesson. Well, we have a situation where a 13-year-old or 14-year-old got a hold of a Springfield handgun. He ejected the magazine, but to empty a gun, you have to rack the slide. So he ejected the magazine and he shot. So after he ejected the magazine, he pointed the gun at a 13-year-old and pulled the trigger and killed the 13-year-old on accident. The kid thought it was empty, but it wasn't. And so they are suing Springfield because they say that the gun, once the magazine is ejected, the gun should not be able to fire. And Pennsylvania is entertaining this idea and possibly overturning the protection of that law, which protects gun manufacturers from being sued for people using it in a poor or negative way. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so I'm gonna I am going to actually upset people, and you know what? I'm not sorry about upsetting you, because you need to own it. You need to own the circumstances of what happened. No more pointing fingers. Stop blaming other companies. That has nothing to do with it. It's called education. It's called training, and you need to take ownership of the problem.
And lock up your gun.
Exactly. I mean, how did this child get this firearm? Okay, and if it is in his home, it doesn't matter whose home. Whoever's home it is an irresponsible gun owner. Take responsibility. That gun owner should be the one receiving lawsuit. That's the person they should be going after, not the gun makers, because the gun makers did not design the gun of like, oh, we're going to go ahead and do this and we're going to put it out there and we're going to go and see what kind of crimes that firearm can commit, because we're going to have it talk to whomever it is to commit that crime with us. Yay. No.
Yeah.
We need to just take responsibility.
Just brainstorming a reason you would want your firearms to still be able to shoot even with the magazine ejected is if you have a time when you may squeeze the gun too hard and partially eject the magazine, but you still need to pull the trigger because you're in a gunfight. You still need you cannot have a blocking mechanism to where the gun should not fire when the magazine's ejected. That, in a self-defense situation, is not a smart idea.
No, it's not. But
which is why the gun's used. The gun is used for self-defense. It's not used to kill your buddy. So, yeah,
I don't even know why he would be pointing a firearm at anybody.
Yeah, and then pull the trigger.
Really disturbed by that. Yeah.
The magazine's gone. It's a 14-year-old. So anywho, you're right. I'm not blaming the 14-year-old. I'm blaming the parents and the education and the situation. How the freak did they get the gun? What is going on? Like, why did you think your 14-year-old is mature enough to just leave your guns unattended? No, not mature enough. Clearly. Can we learn this, people? I hate when I hear gun owners just say, oh, I just put my gun up high on a shelf with the magazine detached. No. Just don't do it. Oh my goodness. ticks me off. It's really
That
annoying.
moment, that moment that you go, oh, I'm just going to set this here for this moment so I can go handle and address something else in your home. That moment can be left and forgotten about because it crosses your mind while you're doing laundry, cooking, changing the oil in your car, working in the backyard. And then suddenly here comes the kids. They're coming home from school or they're coming home from their friend's house. And they see something. It's not that they're hidden, not that, because you can see something. And what is that? They go over and get it. And that's when things can go bad, any level. Or someone as a little child put it, parent put it up there and a little child watching, the parent didn't notice. And then you tell somebody else about it. It's like, there's something up there. I want something. So, there's so many scenarios that could play in
Yeah,
that.
that
And I
can go
think,
wrong.
and that's why we go through what we go through to be a gun owner. And I think people sometimes lack the responsibility of leisure and comfort for their lifestyle instead of understanding the responsibility of the firearm. And
Yeah.
it's like they've forgotten. It's kind of like getting your driver's license. You have to go back and occasionally test at times, or take a driving test if you got so many tickets. It's just certain things. A gun changes a life. And if you're going to be a gun owner, be responsible. Goodness, it's not
Yeah.
right. This poor child cannot now move forward in his life to be an adult and have a family of its own.
Yeah, without knowing that he freaking murdered his friend, which sucks. So I'm going
Yes.
to hash through these last couple ones a little faster. We have some knowledge they studied. It was over 1,500 pages of a report. They studied 59 cases of where bears were shot by people in self-defense, and 13 of those cases used handgun calibers, normal pistol calibers, not large
Wow.
game calibers. And then some of them even used birdshot, and they deduced that birdshot loads, which these are like little pellets. Birdshot are very small pellets that shoot out of a shotgun. But I mean, if you look at the ballistics of those, the penetration usually is not very deep. A lot of times it won't even kill a person from far away. However, at 15 feet or less, most bird shotguns will kill a bear. So that's good to know. Now, in Montana, we have a governor who shared this cute tweet. It says, I'm a hunter and a gun owner. No hunter needs a 30-round magazine, a bump stock, or an assault weapon. Oh, cringy. A large majority of Americans, Republicans, and Democrats agree. You're ignorant. But look at this same governor. This is him hunting. This is the barrel of his gun. Look at where it's pointing. Right at his head. So, I mean, he knows about guns. He's a gun owner, very knowledgeable, except he's just totally
Well,
ruining the
and
basics
the
of
only
firearm safety.
and the one thing is that pictures can be deceiving in so many ways. And I'm not saying he's not doing something incorrect, because he is. But by his thoughts of being excited, he has somebody taking the picture of him. Well, and that's the thing. It's like big. Then you got to think, how big is the animal? How distant is he? I'm not trying to defend anybody on this.
Mhm.
Okay, it's absolutely wrong what he did. I'm just looking at the outside of the image. I wasn't there to see the photo. I wasn't there to how big is that head? How far is it leaning from him? Like it, it's kind of one of those moments of like photo where they take and tweet the photos.
Appearances. This
Right, and it
actually
did.
came out. This was part of an ad. This picture he put out as an ad, and everyone
Okay,
can see the gun, the barrel of
it's
the gun pointing right at his face.
yeah, I would
That's
have to actually see the original photo. And it's not, like I said, I'm not saying what he's done as in, is wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I
appearances are
just like to see the
appearances.
visual. Yeah.
You remember that that law that we were saying where in Michigan, they said you cannot have guns, loaded guns on the grounds. You can't open carry, and
Okay.
banning open carry in Michigan. They were saying because of the riots, and they don't want you to open carry because it's making it whatever violent, even though people were open carrying to stop violence. Well, the law, the people who wrote that bill decided to add a bunch of other gun banning, like banning concealed carry and other crazy bans. So it died, which is good. Hooray for Michigan.
Yes.
People
Good job.
completely disagreed, and that bill died. Good news in Michigan. Bad news in Chicago, murders are up 50%. And what Chicago decided to do, they're going to do something about it. So they are having a gun turn-in event,
Oh
and they're
my
going to give you
goodness.
$100 gift card of, with your tax money. All of the gun owners, everyone over there, they get to spend their tax money on paying people to turn in their guns. It's a buyback. Stupid. But anywho, that's what they're doing.
It's not going to stop anything. It's going to make things worse.
Yeah,
So you
let's
have law-abiding citizens surrendering their firearms. So you really think criminals are coming in to do $100? Unless you're a tweaker. I mean, smoking through broken glass. But honestly, you're not getting criminals bringing their
criminals, you know what they will
guns.
do? Criminals
Oh,
will turn in the gun that they have, steal another gun.
that too. Yeah. I
Anywho, let's do the
they
research on that. I love that we did the research on suicides with youth and the gun and that law. Let's do research on guns and crime, not just gun crime, because I've heard, oh, in these locations where they don't have guns, they have less gun deaths. Yes, duh, they don't have that many guns. But if you compare rapes and stabs, then you're looking at just homicides in general, deaths.
mhm.
Then
with
it's pretty similar. Actually, rapes are, I believe it was 20% higher in the UK, rapes,
mhm.
than in America, where
was it
guns are
us
illegal.
was it Australia or
Australia took away guns.
okay, so and when they took away their guns, and the ones that were allowed to have guns had to have it locked up, and locked up in order to
Hmm.
get to it, had a massive increase of crime. Like it
Oh
exploded, home
yeah.
invasions, the whole 9 yards. So again, how did that prevent any of the extra crime to happen?
And so let's study these things and don't compare Western culture to Eastern culture. So a lot of times they will compare, or Asian, they'll say, well, in Japan, they don't have guns and they do this. Okay, well, the Japanese culture is vastly different than American culture.
100%.
Just meet a Japanese person, way different than an American. And there's pros and cons of both cultures.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to go in depth in that, but that's my thing. We
But see, that's
actually,
the difference of culture and country. So that's what people don't understand. You can still have culture within America.
mhm,
That's the amazing thing about America. But our country is different than their country. It's also ran different. So just because they're doing something different doesn't mean we need to do something different when what we have has protected us
mhm.
from so much. And yeah, that's a
So
sore subject for me.
let's keep watching Chicago, see if removing their guns. I mean, it's already pretty much impossible to buy a gun in
I
Chicago.
thought Chicago was gun free. I thought we're 100% not allowed to buy a
Yeah.
gun or have a gun store in
And
Chicago.
now we're doing buybacks. So please tell me how well that's working out for Chicago. Ugh. Anywho. that's our rant. We actually have ran out of time, so we're not going to talk about our topic. Let's go to the armed citizen story.
Yeah, so this one is out of Turtle Creek, and thank goodness she was okay. This is a domestic violence story, and the man is 24, the woman's 28. It's approximately 2 a.m., so who knows what the circumstances were? Who knows if he was out drinking at the house? It's 2 in the morning. This gentleman is beating on his spouse, girlfriend. He's basically beating on his female companion, beating her to where he basically lost his thoughts and went hunting for his gun in his house, in the house that they're in. But thankfully, she was so enough coherent in order to locate the firearm before him, and she actually ended up shooting and killing him. So instead of it being used on her, being beat for, oh my gosh, since 2 a.m.,
3
the cops did
hours.
not, 2 a.m. in the morning, the cops did not arrive until approximately 5 in the morning. That's 3 hours of just constant
Abuse.
fighting, abuse of a man that could be what size to a woman of what size. There's things there, but no one should be beating on anyone, because you can't be a woman to beat on a man, and a man can't beat on a woman unless you're in a serious self-defense situation. It's not normal. This is not healthy. This is wrong. And thankfully, she was able to find the firearm to be able to protect herself before he found it to kill her.
Yeah.
And
that was just this last weekend.
Yeah, that was this last weekend, correct.
That's nuts. I just started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Talked about this before, and they set a timer for like 3 minutes where you're fighting on the mat. You're like wrestling and pushing, and I'm exhausted after 3 minutes. So I'm like, times that by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, more than that. Sorry, guys. My whatever. Times it by a lot. Make that 3 hours. And yeah, that's insane. I just cannot imagine.
You have a couple of things in here, because if he was drinking, they call it liquid courage. You are numb, your emotions come out,
Oh,
and
gosh.
you
Times
keep
it by
going.
60.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
3 minutes by 60. Okay,
Yeah.
clearly math, but anywho, yeah, keep going.
Or maybe he was on something. We don't, and without the full story, but yes, thankfully she's here, as in hopefully recovering.
Yeah.
In a positive manner.
Well, thanks for joining. I'm glad we had something to talk about today. Luckily, because there was so much news this week, especially with firearms, man. It is just, and I didn't even cover, you guys think I covered a lot? There were so many more topics, but I think it's fascinating to think about them, discuss our thoughts, and we're gun owners. Let's be coherent. Let's be cognizant of what's happening and informed. So we will see you next week we are going to have a gunslinger on. And she actually was the world champion of fancy gun handling.
Oh,
so this
exciting.
Chick is bad A. We're really excited for her. All right. Well, have a good one, and we will see you next week.
Bye.